Hello, I am Tone Ringstad, the founder and CEO of Culture Intelligence, and this is a new global CultureCast. Our ambition for the podcast is to talk with global culture intelligent leaders and visionaries to increase their insight and capability on how values and culture can build better leaders and teams and companies and even societies. In today's business, every company is faced with new challenges that requires restructuring, change, or growth, often in a challenging combination. But not every company takes a firm grip on their culture and makes an executive decision to start there to power their growth strategy. And every once in a while, a company uses systematic and data-driven culture to do so, effectively and efficiently with global results. So today, the company we talk about is Element Logic, and our guests have been instrumental in navigating in the world of team cultures, subcultures, leadership cultures, and all sorts of values dilemmas. They have been working hard and dedicated for 2 years in this project, and today they will share some very interesting results and learning for everyone that wants to listen. So, welcome to us, CEO, Region Europe, Bjørkly, and VP Global Organizational Development, Marit Strømøy. Thanks for being here, guys. Welcome. Start with short on your roles in the company.
Yes. Hi, very nice to be here, Tone.
Great.
So I'm as CEO Europe. I'm responsible for our operations in Europe, which includes 350 super good employees. And all of these people continuously focusing on optimizing our customers' warehouse performance. That's kind of the core. And as part of my role, I'm also part of the executive management team in Element Logic.
Right. So dual role, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds like a lot of complexity.
Yeah, it is.
People, countries, language, cultures, all of that.
We have the whole
have the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
Great. How about you, Marit?
Hi, Tone.
Hi.
Nice to be here with you today and with Eir. In short, basically, I help shaping and optimizing the people processes in the company to unlock the full potential of our employees and leaders, enabling for both individual and organizational growth. And I have also been so privileged and lucky to be part of this culture journey that we are talking about today with Eir.
Definitely, and a lot of other leaders in your company and people. And you have been pretty instrumental, Marit. You have taken the real steps here and gone forward with it.
It's been really fun.
Yeah, I know.
It's something that is really I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
So it's just been fun for me all the way.
And a little bit challenging probably once in a while, but that we can come back to.
We come back to that,
yeah.
Yes.
Okay, great. So in order to understand what kind of company Element Logic is, you said warehouse, what are you guys really doing?
Yeah. So Element Logic, first of all, it's a Norwegian-funded company. That's something we're very proud of course. It was funded back in the 1980s, so soon to be 40 years. And it was two Norwegian brothers, the founders of the company. They had this very strong drive towards wanting to optimize warehouse performance, looking into how you could do storage even better. So that was kind of the core fundament. And on top, they also focused on software. And this is where we started. And it has grown into being a global company, multinational, locally present in many different countries. This is something we're very, very proud of. At the same time, it's still a company based on Nordic leadership culture and values. A lot of the people we attract to the company also come to us because of this. We're a bit different. And yes, we focus on selling, delivering projects, and following up on our customers' needs, more or less. this highly customer-focused business.
So let's start to zoom in on the culture journey, because 2 years ago, I think you called me, Marit, and you said, Houston, we want to address a problem, and it's called culture. So take us back to the time when, in the start of our collaboration.
So, 3 years ago, we were around 170 employees, maybe. We doubled that figure in 2022 and doubled again in 2023. And, today we are, as I mentioned, a global company with over 1,000 employees. So what we saw back then was the need for being aware of, because you have to remember, all of these employees that we then hired over the night was, we became more diverse, we had new competences, we were attracting new kind of target groups, young talents, and invested broad in our product portfolio with, again, new developers, a tech hub, etc. And all of this created a new group dynamic, new way of working, new structure, new expectation, needs to the company, and new needs to our leaders, and expectation to our leaders. And all of this together, we needed to onboard them in our culture. And then the question arose, what is our culture really? And we had some theories and we had some hypotheses about what we thought we were kind of founded on. We were a very passionate group of people that wanted to do good for the world. But we didn't know. So that was kind of the first question that we had. Are we aware of what culture we need to onboard our new employees in?
Yeah, and if I might comment as well, because traditionally, you mentioned it, Marit, the passion was such a strong value in the company. Also pride.
Yeah.
Passion and pride led us to success. It was kind of everyone knew this, and we said, yeah, everyone knows this is so important for us. And as Marit said, through this growth, at the same time, we didn't even just double down on the number of people. We doubled down on the revenue. I mean, we were growing significantly. And it was like, can we as management of this company still claim that this is our value? Or has all the new employees, young talents, you say, maybe they have a completely different value set? So that was, I mean, I didn't call you, Tone, but I mean, that was also the kind of the discussions we had behind the scene. Yeah. Can we still go out and claim that we're passionate and we're proud of what we do?
And what an important question, the strategic impact of that question. Like I said, what kind of culture do we really have? There's so many leaders out there that can't answer that. So you were in total front of that wave 2 years ago, and then you actually decided to run a culture hackathon with the whole crowd. What happened there?
Oh, yeah. And you've asked us a couple of times, Tone, so what's the challenging part of this? And I think it was challenging in many different ways, but we decided that we wanted to do a full process on this. And that meant going out, doing a bottom-up survey, mapping the culture of the company. And that was, of course, a bit frightening because we didn't know what the answers would be.
Yeah.
It might turn out that the core values of the company should be based on something completely different than what we assumed it to be. So, and I guess then when we had all this input, it was also about trying to narrow down and see, so what is the most important values for us today, but also for the extreme growth journey we're going to continue to be on.
Yeah.
And trying to kind of nail down something that would also be important for us that we're not specifically good at today.
And we'll come back to that process, but that scary part of it, not being sure of what we would find. Who was it scary for?
I can start with myself.
Yeah.
No, but and we spent quite some time also together with you on this. I mean, just first of all, the practicalities, getting to know the vocabulary. owning the story, conveying the message. What about if someone asks me something I can't answer? Because this is now not where I'm the strongest in my leadership,
But now you are.
Getting better. So I think just that to feel a bit vulnerable in many ways, at the same time, very, very exciting to actually go out to the organization and say, we would like to know this. We would like to know you better. We would like to understand what drives you. What is it that makes you want to go to work every day? And hopefully we would be able to work out from that perspective.
Yeah. And you had a fantastic response from what I understood. How did people feel about being engaged in the process at that time?
If I can add to that, I remember when you talk about what was frightening as well was that, we asked the entire organization to sit together, pair up and talk about their values. I mean, this was never done before. So that was also kind of a scary moment, how that would really hit the different profiles that we do have in the organization as well. But it was really not a problem because suddenly the room was filled with, positive energy and a lot of passion again, because they were talking about themselves, like Iris mentioned, their drive, their kind of motivation, what is valuable for them.
And that is engaging.
And that was so engaging. And I think also, looking back now, I don't think we really understood what we actually said yes to and we're going to try to achieve with the organization. And I think the impact that it had really now when we can talk about, and we will come back to that later, but today we can actually show our values and they recognize themselves in our values.
Because they were part of it. How about the executive team? Were they part of this?
Yes.
How did they feel about it, do you think?
So, of course, it starts at the top. So that was a very important part of this journey. We needed to commit and say, let's work on this. Let's see where it leads us. We didn't know then whether we would launch new values or continue with the values we had, but we wanted to start. Let's see. We were in the middle of acquisitions, we needed to understand what kind of company should any potential M&A process also take into consideration, these kind of things. So we went into it and said, okay, let's commit. Let's try to understand. Let's start to talk about this. Let's engage with the people. And as Marit said, we didn't fully know where we would end up, but it was very important to start with top management.
Yeah. Just if I'm imagining being an employee here, and so the executive team have decided to go out and have this culture hackathon, and then when I ask them, they don't really know where it's going to go. Was that a problem?
No, so a lot of people replied to the first survey, which was great. It was a very good fundament. And then we had a staff seminar where we worked with the results. So in many ways, we could have ended it there. I mean, we hadn't launched this as a big plan and many things we were to do. And, business was super busy. Everyone kind of went back. It was a good thing, but it wasn't like lots of expectations of what next to happen.
Okay, yeah.
And that was also intentionally in many ways because we saw that we didn't have the time. We couldn't prioritize to plan for 6 sessions during the next year with everyone present. I mean, we had to do this kind of as we kept on doing business to try to do this kind of a transformation.
Yeah, doing both. Yes, doing business and changing business.
Yeah.
That's hard business.
Yeah, that's hard business. Yeah, so then we focused a bit inwards towards the executive team to be able to narrow down these values, to set them, to, of course, involving different parts of the organization, Marcom, employees. Does it make sense? Is this something you could stand behind? And then we went more for the launch of the new values. And that was not a big bang either, but we've kind of said that, okay, let's focus where we have the interest. Let's focus where we have the capacity. Start with management, drill down, do local workshops, illustrate the good examples, talk about this in town halls, in info meetings, and then let this start to roll. And Marit, also on people and culture side, we have done several things there.
Yes, and slowly also then incorporated our values into different people processes, into performance management, starting to create this toolbox for the organization, strengthen the capabilities for our leaders. And we actually also educated our hiring partners to use this as an additional tool when recruiting. So when every new colleague comes in, they're already onboarded in our values and where this comes from. So it really helps us achieving what we would like with our culture then.
And this is impactful. And I'm super curious now, how has this impacted your leadership role in Team Region Europe?
That's a good question. Maybe you should ask someone else.
I can do that, but we'll start with you.
Yeah. But anyways, I think what's highly needed in such a growth company is clear direction, and that's also very difficult. What's at least for me very clear is that it's impossible for us to write guidebooks and policies to control everything. So you need something more. You need something more fundamented in all of us, which drives the right behavior. And hopefully this is going to be a tool for us also in the future, where we keep on building the understanding of where we want to go through the values we've set in the company. So I think for me personally, it has definitely increased my insight. It's given me a lot of motivation in how to use this even more. We've had some very valuable gatherings with managers all over the company where we discuss this, but also connect this to our business strategy. And that's where the fun begins.
I know, and I have to ask you more about that, because that is where the magic starts, when you can link the strategy closely to the people and say this is the direction. But what you said, it's tempting then to write guidebooks and say this is the instructions, in a way, to say this is what we want. But in your leadership now, you are leaving it to people to figure it out once they know the direction.
Yeah.
Is that scary, or is it within trust, or?
Yeah, and I must
tell me more about that.
I must admit, we have a lot of guidebooks as well. So I mean, it's not like the one can fully replace the other. But I think you even joined in on a session we had a couple of days, gathering managers in the European team, and you know, the energy level and the discussions, and also the many difficult dilemmas the leaders are facing. I mean, we want to do this, we want to empower, and at the same time, we're limiting on mandates, for example. How do we operate in that environment? And even if you define a value as we have brave, it doesn't mean that everyone can go out and do whatever they like. You need to be brave, but within the framework. And I think in this kind of crossroad between the values and the guiding tools of the company, it's where we can definitely create something very good and unique.
And I think, and that this is the wonderful part, and the learning, I think, also, because the workshop that I got to be in is where leaders really want to be told, tell me what to do. Because that is the easiest part. Tell me what to do now. If you, what is it you want me to do? So the first response is very often, well, in this change, tell me what to do. But when you work with values, it's more like, here are the values, you figure out what to do. So I remember in that we took 2 steps on that one session, where the first one was tell me what to do, and then they started to engage in, and it became extremely interesting, because then they aligned with, okay, so brave, then we have to do this, and then it was theirs. So it was a fantastic process, I think, and kudos to you guys on the top that said, we trust this process, and You figure out what to do and you tell us what to do. So this is a totally new way of leadership, I think, that you are modeling.
Yeah, and of course, keeping then, of course, the very important part of passionate, adding the brave with more of the vision, the courage, where to go next. We also wanted to strengthen an important focus we didn't talk that much about, but the reliable, because we deliver to customers. We deliver projects that need to be on time, on cost. It needs to work, and we hadn't spoken that much about it. But to me, that's also grown kind of in my own understanding. How many people in my organization that places this value at the top? I mean, no matter what, we need to deliver quality. So there's a lot of insight here, and also we needed to take something out. I mean, it doesn't mean that other values are not important. We discussed openness, Marit, because it was a value. Tone, you commented you saw it clearly in the mapping. It's still very important, but it wasn't one of the three we kind of landed on.
Yeah. So again, prioritizing, and this prioritizing what you would end up with, that is a hard process, because everyone sort of wants to have their candidates in there, but then the more you put in, the blurrier it gets. And so really taking the grip on it and saying it needs to be few and clear and very obvious. That's the hard part.
Absolutely. And I think going a bit back to where we came from, with really being a lot innovative actually, and investing in something that many others didn't believe in that time. I think we wanted to revisit the whole entrepreneurial spirit by adding those elements of, curiosity and the learning, but also what we were and still are very good at is the customer relations. So taking up again, the trust and the quality that we are known to deliver, basically. So I think we during this journey, I think we really reshaped a bit and refined a bit of what makes Element unique out there in the market.
Yeah.
Keeping that, spirit, even though in a global company.
And that leads me to the sort of more common knowledge questions about culture. There must be subcultures. You're leading Region Europe. We intuitively think there's a lot of differences between the countries that you have people in. How do you see these cultural differences? How do they show up, and what do you do with it?
We see it within Europe. We certainly see it between the region and the functional areas as well. And I think just to state that I actually think that's one of the better things we have recognized, that we could support each other by using the strength of other teams. So you have the very innovative team developing our software, and then you have the more traditional team working on accuracy in project deliveries, and these two groups together could also support each other in achieving the full ambition of Element Logic. So it's not like I'm telling everyone to be better at their weakest points. It's just as much of keep doing these things, spread out to the rest of the organization, that I have a very visionary team. Please involve us when if you're discussing strategy, because they can support on this journey.
Do they do that? Does that happen?
I hope to say yes.
Yeah.
We're not fully there yet.
No, but you're underway, so that's normal. And the small things we're looking for in the first of the process, that's signs that it's happening.
Yeah. And then the team does a very, very inspiring workshop, and then we bring it to the European team talk, present it for everyone, maybe someone else is inspired to ask their manager, could we do a similar thing? And by that, you're also creating this bottom-up request for us to focus on values.
It's really cool. But it must be a lot of work for you, Marit, because you're going to support this and from the, what is it, the backstage? It's a backstage, but it's the core stage really for making it happen and making it possible for Eir to do this. So tell me, what's been your, not task, but what's been the role that you have owned in making this possible for Eir?
I think what has been important for me in HR is to really, kickstart the whole process and then facilitate the executive team discussions and workshop, get the alignment and understanding of why we are, want to use this tool and focus so much on culture and the values. With that saying, we never had to kind of ask them to the meetings. They were like knocking on doors. Hello, we want to be a part of this, all the whole executive team. And that's really key here as well. But, and educate, of course, going along the way as we're becoming the super users and have that supportive structures. But at the end of the day, this needs to be driven by the business itself and really anchored in the executive team. I have held some workshops as well, and I think the beauty of the process being driven by the leaders is that you suddenly see them understanding and how, wow, as one of the colleagues to Eir said in the executive team, he said, this is powerful. So getting that.
Yeah, that feeling of now we're talking about something important.
This is something I can use to further develop, my team and build that. And as I said, maybe I can share that knowledge with someone else or get inspired from someone that is working on different, functions and really get that interconnection throughout the organization.
Imagine how many leaders I want that. That's high on the wish list for a lot of executives and teams. What has this done for you personally in your values? Let's start with you, Marit.
Just before we started this, Tone, I had this mindset that, culture is something that's always been there. It's set in the wall, or how do you say that in English? To actually, when you were addressing, but the values consist of something, the drivers underneath, and you can work on that and you can train on that. So if you want to have an organization that is a bit more curious, there's actually ways to train up that ability. So for me, that's been a really nice, overwhelming learning, actually, to understand that, all the books that we read when we studied the leadership, maybe it's not so valid anymore, because you can actually have an impact if you have the data again. It.
A fantastic journey, and I see how you have we call it moved your perspective, and that's powerful in itself. How about you, Eir? What has happened? What have you gained personally?
I think I need to mention, maybe focus on the things I might miss out on in my leadership. So
what would that be?
So typically, if I'm not that strong on the visionary part, we're very action-driven, we're very present here and now, it's operations, just to pause from time to other and say, are we actually having the right focus? How can I benefit from others in the organization to help me focus more on these topics, which is also important in my leadership? Also kind of broadening the understanding of why my team prefers parts of the focuses we have and prefers less other focuses we have. It might also be driven by their values and of course their focus. So I think that's maybe personally the biggest awareness I now have. And on top of that, it's been a very good journey kind of to prove that we don't have to have all the answers. There's a lot of energy to find out in the organization if you allow them to engage. And I mean, that's been a very, very kind of positive surprise, if you could say. I didn't count on it. It wasn't that I didn't believe it, but it just started out there, and people wanted to volunteer, and people asked for more tools, and people wanted, to tell others about their findings, and that as well has been very, very positive.
Fantastic. And so if we're going in for kind of a summary now, with all this empowered energy and all that, where do you see this company going forward? What can happen in this company?
We're definitely going to continue to grow. I think we're even better set to, one, tackle the challenges we face, but also to be able to include the new parts of the business, new markets, new acquisitions, new partners, because we have a better understanding of also how different values will impact how you act and how you focus in your daily job.
So. Yeah, I was going to say the whole cultural diversity, which is obviously not even a trend; it's a fact. So really understanding, having the data in different parts of the world, and taking that into consider, understanding that's why they decide this or they act on that. And as I say, then it's easier to kind of have a smoother operation and a way forward in the same direction then, but allowing for this nuances and the different flavors in different regions as it needs to be.
And there's no limit, right, for what you can achieve if you just have this strong vision and the power to execute on it. And I think this is such a magic journey, really. So I think you're going to end up with just, if it's possible at all, to send one good piece of advice to anyone who's facing anything like you have. What's your absolutely best input?
Find good ambassadors throughout the company. Find the people being motivated by this and use them as ambassadors, and then just trust the process.
Trust the data. The process.
Yeah.
How about you? What's the best? There's a lot of HR leaders out there that's facing this. What to do?
Plan for it, but don't be surprised when it doesn't go by the book, because it will come from the side. People are people, and the plan will never be the same as you wrote it 2 years ago. And that's perfectly fine, because it's a journey.
It's a journey. Fantastic.
Yeah. It's a journey, and I would say this is the one project delivery we can't set an end date on.
Oh, that's wonderful. So send out tickets to all your people, and it's moving forward. So, well, thank you so much, you clever, wonderful, hardworking leaders. I really have enjoyed this. So thank you for sharing. And I so look forward to the next steps that Element Logic is going to do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tone.